Today I'm sending to Houston City Council a balanced budget, a total budget of $5.1 billion. That includes a $2.4 billion general fund component. This will be the city budget for the fiscal year beginning July 1st, 2015. It'll be the last budget of my administration. It will guide spending for the final 6 months of this year and for the first 6 months of the new administration. I'm continuing a very conservative budgeting approach where we try to be as conservative as we can with expected revenues and conversely as conservative in the opposite direction as we can with projected expenditures. And that approach has meant that we have ended each budget year with more revenue in the coffers, with an increased fund balance, and I anticipate that this last budget will do exactly the same thing. Putting a budget together always requires some very hard choices, and it is a matter of juggling lots of competing needs. But we have come a very long way from the first budget I presented 6 months into my first term in office, when we were in the depths of the recession and laying off, furloughing and then laying off nearly 800 city employees and slashing programs, doing a lot of things to stop spending. I'm proud to say that the city is leaner and more efficient. We continue to operate with a much smaller workforce than we did prior to those changes. But it's not just about fewer people, it's the fact that we have a more data-driven management approach. We are working on a continuous performance improvement program, and we are using technology to fill the gaps. We have new financial policies that Council adopted, and this budget is fully compliant with those financial policies in all but one area, and that is that we still struggle to meet the obligations of our pensions. And in the budget book, as we go through the financial policies, we clearly indicate that that is the one area that we are outside compliance. But the new policies that Council mandated require strengthened financial reserves, greater emphasis on maintenance of physical assets, and as you know, that's been one of my really pet peeves. We build a new facility and then we don't maintain that facility, and so we moved money into, for the first time ever, a line item for maintenance and renewal of assets. We're continuing to increase the amount of money in that line item. But we're also doing more long-term forecasting and planning. We have improved internal controls, and I want to acknowledge the Controller's Office and the role of the Controller's Office in making sure that we tighten up our internal control processes. But we also have more transparency for taxpayers, and in fact, more and more of the information available from the City of Houston is available online. So anyone sitting in front of a computer can track a lot of the work that we're doing down here. My administration, I'm confident to say my administration will be leaving the next mayor with a stable financial platform and a city that is running effectively and efficiently. Now, the thing that tweaked us a little bit last year but is impacting this budget in a real way is the revenue limitation voters imposed on the city several years ago. Property tax revenue for the general fund is capped at $1.1 billion out of that $2.4 billion general fund budget. We have to keep property taxes under that cap. So in order to do that, I am proposing that we increase the tax exemption for seniors and the disabled from $80,000 to $160,000 a year. That will bring us into alignment with Harris County. And so regionally, we'll have the same property tax exemption. It would provide approximately $251 of tax relief for the average senior household. However, that's not going to be enough to keep us under the cap, so a reduction of the overall city property tax will probably occur, but we're not going to speculate on how much that might be until October, when we actually set the tax rate, and we'll be able to see the final tax valuations as they come in. Council members are, I think, very familiar and comfortable with the process of setting that, but we will, of course, be fully compliant with the overall revenue limitation for the city. Now, sales, it doesn't mean that we won't be receiving more property tax revenue than the previous year. We are under the cap, allowed to increase by the combination of population increase and inflation, or 4.5%, whichever is less. We will have some increased revenues on the sales tax side, but not as much as we have enjoyed over the last few years. Everyone knows that the drop in oil prices has had a ripple effect through the economy. The good news is our economy continues to expand. The bad news is that it's a lot slower, and we've had to significantly reduce our estimates of sales tax revenue into the future. So we are projecting a fairly modest 1.8% growth in sales taxes. We also, in this last year, instituted internally a very aggressive sort of budget hawk program. I went into last year's budget with a cushion above our mandated 7.5% unallocated reserve. I heard loudly and clearly from council members that they wanted certain things in the budget. In fact, council members overruled my budget last year and added certain things. They added a council member service budget, they added after-school program increases, and they added a summer jobs program. We, through aggressive management over the course of the year, were able to squeeze $7.5 million in headroom into the budget, and so the baseline budget will include those three council priorities. Baseline budget means that spending exactly the same amount of money this year as we spent last year. However, the expenditure budget will be $130 million more, and I'm going to walk you through what is included in that $130 million. Unfortunately, 96% of that $130 million, so $125 million of the $130 million of increased spending, is mandated. That would be required transfers, contractual obligations due to contracted pay raises for employees, changes in health benefits costs, changes in pension contributions. So when you get all the way down to the bottom line, there's $5 million in new program spending in this budget. Now, the baseline budget, again, going back to the aggressive fiscal controls we put in place, it wasn't just to accommodate the council members' concerns on service budgets, after school and summer jobs. It was also to allow the first phase of the body cameras for the police department. There's $2.8 million in spending for that first phase. There's also, as I mentioned, additional funding in the maintenance, renewal, and replacement fund. And we have some continued to put more money in the funding for pothole and skin patch repairs. In fact, $3.6 million additional spending on those emergency street repairs. In keeping with, again, the financial policies adopted by council, this budget plan will maintain an ending fund balance of 7.5% and will increase what we used to call the Rainy Day Fund, but we now have formally named the Budget Stabilization Fund by about $500,000. It's now it's $20.4 million, up from $20 million. Each year, we're going to continue to put more money in the Budget Stabilization Fund. Budgets are the working document that guides everything that the city does. I can't spend money without prior authorization by council in the budget. But budgets are also a symbol of what we value as a city. And we are committing and continuing our commitment to public safety. The general fund budget, 2/3 of the general fund budget goes to the public safety departments. But we're also continuing our commitment to wanting Houston to be a city with excellent infrastructure and a very, very high quality of life. Over the last 5 years, we have rebuilt our infrastructure. I know the potholes are out there, but the long-term changes over the next few years you're going to see. We've been putting people to work. We've been creating a safer, greener, healthier, and more sustainable city. And we are in better shape financially, in better shape in terms of the internal workings of the city, and then finally in better shape in terms of the overall infrastructure of the city than we have been in decades. This budget doesn't meet every need in the city. I can't achieve all of my goals, and every council member understands that not everything that they want can happen. But I want to say that there's not a single problem in the city that hasn't gotten better, because we've tried to tackle all those problems, even though we couldn't solve all of them. And this budget represents a commitment to continuing to do the hard work and to do it in a prudent and fiscally mindful fashion. I'm very glad that I had 3 council members who were willing to come in. Stand with me today as we roll out the budget. Council members Stardig and Boykins and Wynn. As 3 district council members, they're really where the rubber meets the road, and they understand the needs of their constituents, as well as the constraints on the city. So I appreciate it. It is my budget, but I am mindful of their desires, and as I said, I think it reflects the priorities of council as well.